We're back. Welcome to Green Rapids.
Welcome back.
We're feeling a little giddy.
Yeah, it's hard to wrap my brain around doing this. I feel like I haven't done it before, but once we came back in this room, I just feel very ready to go.
I'm ready to go also, but I'm also a little teary. I think I'm just wow, the nostalgia.
Were you crying?
Mostly from laughing.
Yes, no. That was, for some reason, it was way funnier than it needed to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we are back, and really, we're going to be talking about being back today.
That's it. We're warming up. Think of this as just our little reintroduction episode for season 2.
We missed you.
Yeah. Well, in case anybody doesn't listen to our first episode ever, maybe we should just do a super brief, 1 minute elevator pitch intro.
Oh my goodness. Take yourself back.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, because I don't even really remember the title.
All right. So I'm Nancy Morales. I'm a climate justice organizer with the Urban Core Collective, and Erica and I do this podcast together. And we've been doing this work for just over a year now, which is really exciting. But just as a quick intro to people who are probably listening for the first time ever, I have a dog and I have a cat, and they are the light of my life. And I like art. I'm actually an art major, and I care about the planet, which is why I'm here talking to you about it. And next is Erica.
Yeah, I'm impressed that you remembered that. It was not me looking in Spotify trying to figure out what our first episode was about. But I'm Erica Bolden. I work with Nancy at the Urban Core Collective. We're both climate justice organizers. Yeah, we've been doing this for just over a year now. Officially the podcast for a year now.
Woo!
And might we add, we are an award-winning podcast at this point. Yes.
Thanks, Wimiak.
The self-applause. Thank you, Wimiak. So yeah,
more about that later.
Yeah, definitely more about that later. But I got into this a lot of the same ways that Nancy did. Just passion work, having skills in certain areas and not realizing that you can maybe utilize those outside of this. I worked a lot of customer service jobs or jobs about holistic health and things like that. And I think it just kind of built my interest. So this is a huge dream, I think, for both of us. One, being organizers in the climate justice movement, but then also the podcast. So we're super excited.
We're excited to be back.
Yeah. So welcome for your first time. Welcome back. I think today we're going to talk about, or maybe we can start here, is conversations that we've had. So you heard our
a little season 1 recap.
Yep. So our first one was introductions, which we've done again. I want to hear from Nancy and then kind of what.
Some of my favorites, what do the people call them, editor's picks or whatever when you go into a store. For our first season we did have a decent number of episodes. What do we have, 17 or something?
Yeah, something
16?
like that.
Out of those, just off the top of my head, I would say probably my top 3 favorites were our conversation with Carlos from Wimiak about the watershed. It was a really cool one just because there's a lot, you learn in high school, the basic,
yes,
hydrosphere stuff and the water cycle. But then just him really painting it to life of how it is here in Grand Rapids, I thought was really fun. I would also recommend listening to our PFAS episode with Abigail from MLCV. She is no longer with them, but her brain still captured forever in our episode.
So good. I was literally, that was the first time where I was like, she's going to take this job. She's just going to go start her own little podcast. She was so good. One of my favorites.
Yeah, we love her. So hers is really great also. And then just because it's goofy and we were awkward and still warming up and I look back at it fondly. Our introduction episode that we did, our first episode of season 1 is also just it's a good time.
I wish someone could have seen us trying to figure out how to record. Just the whole process. It was not cute. I think maybe Brandon caught the tail end of that one.
Growing pains.
Yep. So my favorite was That's What She Said, which was about women in climate. It was cool. It was cool to recognize women who are doing this work. It was cool to kind of put a name and a face to the people who are out here, right? And women, what up? And then You Are the Traffic, Options Outside of Cars. And I've really leaned into not having a car.
Mm-hmm.
I take the bus everywhere. I'm noticing like little things about what people deal with in transit.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely been an episode to build on too, even just in my
A
mind.
public transit episode coming
A pu-
soon.
Question mark.
Okay.
Ooh, I know it's an early season, guys. We have so many ideas flowing.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we're still getting those creative juices.
yeah.
So obviously we were gone for a good while. We kind of went on hold like what, early October?
Yeah, I think our last episode was in October, so we took off all the way through
3-ish
November
months?
through now. We'll be launching in March. So
Yeah, like 5 months.
yeah, and
Yeah. By the time
Nancy and I are recording this, a little bit
January.
early, yeah. So, but it's been really nice, I think, to take that break, to focus on other things, to honestly gain more content to talk about. Sometimes, like, not having that focus on recording and getting information to people is a really good time to just build.
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot during our hiatus. So, okay, I will say I was gone for like a month. I went like on a vacation and a half.
Will you tell them?
Yes, so it was a roller coaster. So I went to California to go see my family because my parents and siblings are all out there. We spent the holidays in the beautiful Isabella Peaks Mountains, which are over in Wolford Heights. And then after that, I went to Mexico for a week, and I went on this beautiful retreat that was sort of for like the Mexican diaspora, looking to reconnect with their roots. And I am one such person. So that was something that was really inspiring for me, but then also talking to folks there who also cared about sustainability and the climate and about preserving the land. Like I feel like I can't escape this work anywhere I go. Like I was legit in Mexico on vacation,
Of
and then I
course.
had people talking to me about like how climate and different changes were affecting like the traditional ways of life that people had there. So that was also just like something really interesting for me to learn. And then came back to California, spent a few more days with my wonderful family, and then I went up north to San Francisco for a meeting with our funders,
Yes,
which
the
are also
Energy
funding this
Foundation.
podcast. Thank you, Energy Foundation. And kind of met up with Erica and Sergio there, and then came back to Michigan. So all in all, it was like 27 days that I was traveling.
We all felt that too.
I missed you.
Every day I was just like, "Ugh, don't say anything. Don't make her feel bad for being gone because you need to be gone, right?" But I also just love the experience you had, like really tapping into your culture. I think that's so important to do. I think it's really important to do unapologetically, to share with people. We're going to get into why it's important to share and why this has been like such a fruitful process for both of us. We're really gaining a lot from being able to do this and to share it with you.
Yeah, and even just like that reconnection to like ancestral lands, right? Like that.
Totally.
That was something that was just really valuable for me out of that trip
Y'all, the pictures. If you know Nancy, ask her to see some pictures.
too. Yeah, even if you don't know me, I'll show you a few.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Anyway, but as far as work goes, I actually just yesterday, but even a little bit before that, have been chatting with some folks from an organization called Third Act. And so Third Act is like a really, really cool like movement. They're kind of actually like a nationwide movement. And I'll read this from their website because they have better language for it. So they say, "We are building a community of Americans over the age of 60, determined to change the world for the better. Together, we use our life experience, skills, and resources to build a better tomorrow." So this group is like specifically for, folks that have basically had a whole life. A lot of these are majority of folks here are like on the cusp of retiring or already retired. But they have this like lifelong just experience, right? Like these people had whole careers, whole lives. They raised children. They did all these things. And a lot of times, like especially like in modern society, we tend to like kind of dispose of people after they reach a certain age. So the fact that there's like that intergenerational segregation, I think is something that's really been harmful to our society and to our communities. So I really love that Third Act is a group of people that are, it could be our grandparents. I mean, mine are my last one's in Mexico, but
No, but I mean, they were 60 at some point. They were.
She's 80 now.
Yeah, totally.
But all these people that have all these valuable resources still that can still contribute to making positive change in the world. So if you're listening and you're over 60 or getting close and you want to find a way to just get involved with a kind of a really strong peer group, like a really just like lovely affinity group, I would highly recommend Third Act. You can learn more about them at thirdact.org.
That was beautiful.
Thanks.
It really was. But also, I'm just thinking about like retired people who, have time, or, maybe people are on like a half schedule. Maybe people just want to find other people in their community, right? Like, it's hard enough to make friends.
Yeah.
Much less, if you don't have a program or something to kind of dive into.
Yeah.
Also passion based, like that'll never not be giving. So I really love that.
Okay. Can I also just give these folks one last shout out?
Yeah.
So I was like in their email thread, because they hadn't met me, so they did not know that I was not yet in my third act. But they
to be fair, your name is Nancy. So
to be fair, my name's Nancy. So
you could be.
I have been accused of lying. Anyway. But anyways, so there was like an email thread, and they were organizing this gathering, and kind of like a little informal get together. So I had like written in and was like, hey, like I'm not in my third act, but would love to join you guys. And they were very welcoming. And when I showed up, like I think not everybody has seen my email. So one person was like, you look a little young to be here. And I was like, yep.
How old do you think I am?
Yeah, it's like, this is plastic surgery, baby. I'm just kidding. Anyway, but they were just such a lovely, welcoming group. So
I love
shout
that.
out to Third Act.
I'm going to have to send my mom their way, although she'll be mad if I send her to a group for people who are over 60.
I won't ask you how old she is on the record, but hold up the fingers.
No, she's the last year of her 50s. That's what she kept saying. The last year of my 50s. So she would fit right in there,
Yeah.
Next year, though.
Next year.
I won't tell her about it.
Yeah. I can't be a member.
No.
I got 30 years to go.
We'll live through her.
Yeah.
There we go. I love it. So mine has really just been more work-based, and really not even just UCC work, although that's still the hottest topic of my life right now.
Woo-hoo.
I know, it's super exciting. But I've been also kind of trying to find this like solid transition, which I have at this point, between my work. So I do engagement for Line 5 with the Michigan Climate Action Network. And so a lot of that work has just been...
Hashtag side hustle.
Yeah, side hustle, hashtag part of the hustle. It's cool because you see the intersections, I mean, it's all about climate. And so I don't really feel like I stopped doing my job in one place to do it in another, although there is like a specific campaign. So if you haven't heard about Line 5, there is a pipeline that's running through the Straits of Mackinac, which is where...
Oh, haven't you heard?
Yeah, haven't you heard?
There's a whole pipeline.
I mean, there should be like a giant sign that says like, there's a pipeline here, because it feels kind of wild to just be
like a big, like, just like
buried.
arrow, like pipeline is
Yes.
here, red, massive, like, yeah.
Well, and of an unlikely place. Like when you drive over the bridge, you're, a handful of yards away from it. But essentially it's where Lake Huron and Lake Michigan meet, and it's right underneath, actually it's in the water. And so it's in a very, very vulnerable place.
It's scary.
We house a good portion of the fresh surface water that's in the world. We're about 20%, and so we have a duty to protect it. So since September, I took that role. You likely haven't heard a whole lot about it because we've been taking a break. But I'm super excited to introduce some of that work I do into these conversations, maybe introduce some of the people that I do this work with, and then also just bring another light to a way that you can advocate for the climate. We're never going to say no if it comes to that. So, that's been super cool, very giving. To Nancy's point, I think just another community of people that you can relate to, that you can connect with, and that never hurts. We all need somebody. So my can is definitely somebody for me. So that's been super cool. And
you've been putting in the work. I mean, what are you doing tomorrow, which will not be tomorrow for the people when they listen, but it's tomorrow for us.
Yep. So there is a documentary called Troubled Water. And really there will be more opportunities to see this in the future. So hopefully I can link people in West Michigan to that. But Troubled Water is about two men who take a journey across the Great Lakes on paddle boards. So they go 425 miles. They bring a lot of awareness to preserving the Great Lakes and then also the Line 5 issue. Just a cool way to get connected.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, even a podcast is kind of like a different way of getting connected. And I think we're just trying to find a way to reach out in a way that people enjoy. So they're also checking that box. I love it. So yeah, we'll talk more about that. But it's been, I think, a really busy few months for both of us in really like different ways, but also I think it's giving to both of us.
Yeah.
And I feel very ready to be in this room, you know? So
yeah, because we have, like we went and like had all these experiences and we're like bringing them all back. But I do want to riff off of your Line 5 stuff. So you may have heard about this already, but there's actually going to be a demonstration, which I would like to invite you all to, so you'll be hearing this episode like right before it happens. But on March 21st, there's going to be a hearing for the Line 5 for basically taking it out of the federal court and putting it back into the state, which would allow Michiganders to have more power over like decisions over Line 5. But basically, like that's going to be on March 31st at 1 p.m. at the Federal 6th District Court in Cincinnati, Ohio.
the fact that you're doing this and I'm not is like so shame right now.
Don't feel ashamed.
No, it's okay. It's just
that I am your ally in all things.
Well, I'm glad that you know about this. This has actually been something that's been in the works. Attorney General Dana Nessel is officially having this space to take on this case in federal courts. And so we're asking for support. Yeah. And so if you can, there will be buses that are being like set up so people can get there. I'm not 100% yet on the details for that, but
we'll post on our socials.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'll share it on Green Rapids just so you can get connected and show support in any way you can. You know, if it's going to a showing, if it's going to an event, if it's being able to show up in Ohio at a court trial, like all of that matters.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for highlighting that, Nancy. I try not to cross too much, but also like this is a huge awareness piece. This is climate activism at its finest. So
so if you're looking just for something like, and I'm not gonna lie, we'll make it as easy as we can for everybody, and by we I mean like all the environmental organizations that are probably going to be involved. But you know, like I said, we're trying to get a bus. We want to just like help y'all get there, be there, support you while you're there. You know, it's in the court, so we're expecting it to be like a fairly peaceable just demonstration. Like it's not even like I would hesitate to even call it a protest, right? Like we're literally just showing up to be like, hey, we care about this issue.
And to your point, it's not a protest because the lawsuit is about our state attorney general taking action against Line 5 and against their proposed tunnel project. So yeah, this is all just show up for support. Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're backing her up. If you want to get crafty with some signs, like I'm sure that's never a bad idea. But please mark your calendars for March 21st and stay tuned to our socials for updates on that.
Yay. Nancy, I love you so much.
I love you.
Something I want to talk about is what we've learned over the past year of podcasting.
It's been a roller coaster.
Learning is so much fun. It's such a good time.
It's fun, but sometimes you're also like, God.
Yeah,
it's rough.
It is. And something I want to touch on the first is the storytelling aspect. So the reason why is because you brought up how people on your retreat were talking about the issues that they're facing in climate. And, you know, you're kind of like building all of this. Like, you know, we do this awareness in the background where we talk about people who are facing these issues at a higher rate than we are. We don't really ever get to have a conversation directly with them.
Yeah, sometimes it's like intellectual awareness, but not like a connective awareness.
Yes. So like you can talk to someone who might live like out in California who's dealing with different weather issues and events that we are. Exactly. No, or you can talk to, you know, the women from across the country who came on this event or to this retreat with you and hear their stories without having to know that like, this is going to impact our work here. You know, they're just expressing themselves because it's something that they're living with. So storytelling has been such a powerful tool, like for me to remember, listen to other people's stories, to amplify theirs, which is why I love our interviews more than anything, because I feel like we get to listen to people tell their stories. So that's
a good time.
One of the best takeaways I've had from this whole experience.
That's a really good one. I know we're probably going to talk about San Diego later, but I just want to say that some of you guys may have heard about the flooding in San Diego, and I won't super derail the conversation. But, like, for example, like during this trip that I went on in Mexico, I met a lot of women, like at least 5 of them, that were from San Diego.
Oh my goodness.
So now now I'm not just hearing it on the news, like, hey, this is happening in San Diego. Now I'm seeing it on their Instagram stories. Now I'm seeing it in our group chat. Like, it's so, it feels so much closer to home because there are those connections there, you know?
And we shouldn't be able to just ignore them either, you know? Like, of course, I might not be seeing it because I don't have very many friends in San Diego, but I shouldn't have to not see that in order to, like...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I should already be aware that
sometimes
people
I feel
are
like there's
dealing
like
with
this
a
like
hardship.
compartmentalizing that happens,
Totally.
right? But now it's like, no, like that's in my box now.
It's,
you know,
all of what happens in this country is in our box.
Yeah.
And we just, it's so, you know, when you're 2,000 miles away,
yeah,
it feels very separated. But yeah, we will get into that. And Nancy and I are going to get into a couple of things that have happened in the world since we've been gone. But
another thing that we learned, like Erica said, we love talking to people about climate, and like literally it could be like anything, and it doesn't even have to be like directly climate. It could be like just helping people who may need resources during a climate crisis, like our conversation with Wendy from ENTF, like just knowing what resources are out there. And like, you know, I feel like climate really intersects with like just about anything, right?
Literally everything.
Like, I could really make a huge stretch and probably pull anybody in the world in here and have, like, a climate, like, perspective.
Well, to me, like, climate obviously is, like, the general cloud
we're living in
that
it.
we're all living under, but, like, our environments are determined by our climate. So, like, your environment might be this small little bubble that I don't touch, but it's under the cloud of the climate that we're living in.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you can talk to anybody about... They're specific in their environment, like whether or not is there noise outside of your house, you know, is there trees outside of your house, do you have water accessible, do you have food, like what are your hobbies? All of those things can be tied to it. And for real, sometimes I have to stop myself from talking about it because I do love the climate so much. Like I love doing this work. And I think like being able to talk about it in this room has just elevated that so much. Yeah. Yes, we do.
I love it when people are like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, let me tell you.
How much time do you have? No. And then sometimes people roll their eyes like, okay, tree hugger, we got you. Yeah. and then you move on.
And you move on. It's okay. We're not hurt.
Something else we learned, and I kind of giggled when you said something we learned because I thought this is what you were going to say. Is there are technical difficulties no matter where you go, and we definitely dealt with one of those this past season.
It was
you didn't hear one of our best interviews,
our best
one of our favorite conversations. Darren from Just Air, if you're listening, please give us another interview. But
we're sorry.
We actually, so I ended up taking home the data from the files, and I have 0 Darren. I have all Nancy and all me. And nothing from his recording.
Something with his mic, I guess. We don't know. We'll
don't
never know.
But, you know, I kind of had like a moment where I was super upset about that.
We grieved that episode.
And it was hard to not post it. I felt kind of silly. No one probably even noticed that we didn't have an episode out that week. But, you know, I think it reminded me, like, in the long run, like, we have to be okay with those types of things.
Yeah, just like roll with the punches, go with the flow.
Roll with it. Be willing to throw your best work out because sometimes you don't have a choice in it.
Yeah. It throws itself out, apparently.
Oh my goodness. Taryn, I'm so sorry. He had great things to say. Another great storytelling moment that helps frame our history of like Detroit and Michigan and the city. But
and like social enterprise, like we haven't really had like a social enterprise conversation on the podcast before.
So we learned to double, triple check, to, you know, make sure everything's on point, but also to let go of some things. if they're just simply not in our control.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't let go.
The basis of stoicism.
I literally am sitting here like, oh, if I could just recover it, I would still post it to this day.
Yeah. If we could turn back the clock, that's what I would go back for, to recover that episode.
The only thing I would go back for in all of 23 was to recover the episode that we recorded with Darren.
Like, be like, Darren, hold these 3 phones up to your face while you're talking.
Oh, heartbroken. But so much more to come, you know, and I think...
And to be fair, that was a good day, right?
Yeah, it was a really great day.
It was like the time, like the day after, like that evening that we were like, dang.
Yeah. Hey.
It happens.
Oh, in the moment. Felt so good.
Yeah.
Live in the moment. That's the real lesson here, is like enjoy it while you have it.
At the end of the day, we're still here.
We are. And we got an award for being trailblazers. So even though you missed the episode with Darren, we still were able to
get an
award for this. So WEMIAC, the West Michigan Environmental Action Council. Let's go. Acronyms. They awarded us. So they have a yearly like review of kind the work.
Kind of like a big annual meeting where they gather their members and just like folks that they work with and support the work, like partner organizations and whatnot.
Yep. And so they recognized us with the Trailblazer Award. I know. We are milking that. We're an award-winning podcast.
Oh, I know. I posted it on the stories, but I didn't post it like on the grid. All right.
We need to.
Another post coming soon.
But, you know, I mean, it was just super cool to be recognized for that. Like, Nancy and I did not start a podcast thinking anybody would, like, recognize the work. I think we were just like, this would be a cool way to do stuff. And I don't know.
We were really just hoping for, you know, people that normally don't listen. Like, our whole point is for people who maybe normally wouldn't listen to a climate podcast to be comfortable listening to us talk. So.
Yeah, and, you know, the event was really great. They had all vegan food, which was so cool. A lot of it didn't taste like crazy vegan either. But, you know, sometimes like you eat vegan food and you're like, yeah, we know what you tried to do there. They fooled us. And they just had really great displays. WEMIAC always puts on awesome events. So thank you for the invite, right? Yeah. Thank you for the award, the recognition for all of the people who support it, like before and after. It's been a super cool year. And I think that, like, not that this isn't worth it, but it definitely makes it all worth it when you get recognized for your hard work. Yeah.
It does feel like a confirmation from, like, the world at large, right? Like,
you know, Terry Gates said, I believe it was Terry, we were talking about it, and he said, you know, that's actually like a form of payment in itself, right? Like, that's the real reward, is somebody recognizing you. Because so often we just do things and no one's going to recognize us, and like,
which is okay.
That's not the expectation. So just thank you.
Thanks, man.
Truly, you guys are awesome. And Nancy's favorite episode was with Carlos from WEMIAC. So full circle, right? Yeah. Do we want to?
Do you want to talk about
the fun part? But what?
How do we feel about 2024? Not season 2, but just 2024. What we're getting into.
Oh, I feel ready. I mean, it's an election year. So that means if you're not voting for the climate, turn this podcast off right now.
No, I'm the contrary. Keep listening and maybe we'll convert you.
Okay. Wow, since when am I the harsh one and you're like the nice one?
I mean, we're harsh in different ways, right? Like, you're like...
No, but last year you were always like, so you can do the frilly stuff. What I really want you to do is bleach your grass. Kill your lawn.
Not with bleach.
I know. Okay. No, but I just, you know, it's really important. We really have to make sure that we're, like, making a difference, like with the MPSC stuff, right? Like, those are things that we need to know about, to be aware about. So I think it'll be a year of learning for everybody, right? How do you feel about 24?
I feel definitely a level of apprehension, especially with the political climate and how tenuous everything seems. Did I say that right?
I don't know. I'm looking at you like, I freaking hate the political climate we're in right now. It's kind of scary a little bit.
It is a little scary. It's scary, like, especially knowing that the candidates that would probably do the best work are probably not strongest candidates politically.
Yeah.
I think that's always a bummer, right? I think that it's important for, like, when I was reading, I was doing some reading, like, our next episode is going to have a specific theme. But, like, it was actually, like, Republicans that were more conservation-minded
Yeah.
back in the day. And I feel like now, like, it's kind of flipped, but, like, I would like to ask people to just, like, think of, like, history, right? Think about, like, what are some of the most real values we can have as a human species, and just really think about the planet, think about others, you know?
Yeah. And you know, as you're saying this, Nancy, I'm realizing, like, it's so hard to have climate be a non-partisan or non-political issue,
Mm-hmm.
mainly because we're talking about the social issues that are surrounding that, and that's not always easy for people to like hear or want to change because of. But that's still going to be your summer, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you don't make a decision.
Remember last summer with the Canadian wildfires?
Dude, with the wildfires.
Unreal.
Like, I don't think that there is, whether or not you are conservative, whether or not you are a leftist, nobody wants a summer like that. And especially not the people in Michigan who literally are waiting 9 months out of the year.
For a summer.
You know, summer. I mean, I just talked about this today earlier with, it doesn't matter who, but we were just talking about it in general. And I don't want that again.
No.
Like, I will do everything I can to make sure that when June happens, I'm outside, right? I don't want to be stuck inside because the environment, like, that is, it's kind of, I mean, that's another kind of terrifying thought to me, but also like, it's all the more reason to make this a nonpartisan issue, right? And like, not because it benefits me, but because it benefits everybody, to take the politics away from it. Unfortunately, that means House bills being supported and Senate bills being supported, because it's hard to make those moves, and we don't usually have right-wing support on those things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Nancy and I have been trying to figure out how to have the climate conversation with any type of person. It's not always easy.
Yeah.
So
some people just have these, like, built-in, like, biases and, like, mental blocks that just prevent them from seeing, you know, like, the evidence of what's there. And a lot of times, like let's face it, sometimes that comes from a place of fear.
Yeah.
People don't want to hear that the planet is dying. People don't want to hear that we're, like, hurtling towards, like, irreversible climate change, right?
And they don't want to hear that in order to stop that, you need to be the one to change.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, look, first of all, chill out with the...
Well, especially, like, the fossil fuel industry. Like,
yes.
You know, like, obviously, like, it would involve, like, dissolving almost this entire industry. And it doesn't necessarily have to dissolve as in, like, everybody loses their jobs. Like, it could literally change, right? Like, convert, transform, like, clean energy. But, like, there's just so stuck in certain ways of doing things and thinking.
Well, and that's why this Line 5 thing, I mean, not to, like, tie it all back to that, but, like, it's
tie it all back to it, Erica.
No, but it's proven that, like, we will be totally fine without the reliance of what we get from Line 5. If we stopped production today, we wouldn't be able to make up for all of what we're gaining from it. So why aren't we transitioning? If like, other than the politics of it.
One thing about how expensive this pipeline is to even build, right?
Right,
it's like,
right.
Why don't all those millions or billions of dollars get used to transition into climate?
Aren't we trying to be, like, carbon free, not only as, like, a country, but, like, as the world? Like, we're just not doing it.
2030. It's coming up so quick.
Girl, 6 years.
And they're trying to build a whole new pipeline.
Well, not only that, but, like...
Make it make sense.
The transition needs to start, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be on year 6 and be like, okay, so now we're going to stop.
Yeah.
Or
2029, and they're like, all right. I think so about this transition you want to do.
Right, exactly. And so I think I'm excited, though, because it's a really great time for us to ask questions to people who want to be elected and people who are already in office, trying to, like, protect their positions of power, or, you know, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You know, this is a really great time to remind them that we care about things, right? Bring it up every single time that they're around, you know, send a letter, because this matters, and they can't do it without us, right? Like, they can't do it without our votes. They need us as individuals as well as communities as a whole. So I think I'm, like, looking forward to it, but also to your point, like slightly apprehensive about like holding an expectation for what might happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the name of the game. That's just
game.
growing up.
Yeah. And then, the stoic in me is also like, only worry about the things that are in your control. So it's like, all right, so what can we do?
Will you sit on my shoulder every day of my life? And just say that over and over again.
I would love to. That was like a little bit smaller.
Yeah. Whatever. I'll take you in any form. But yeah, no, really, we should.
Mm-hmm.
That's a solid reminder.
Yeah. So we have a lot of calls to action, and at the end of every single episode in our last season, we're going to have a lot more calls to action, and after every single episode in this season. So what do you want to be our call of action for today?
Well, today we are, we're recognizing Global Recycling Day. It's the 18th of March. And so it would be a really great month for you to be aware of how we are recycling things. Mm-hmm. As an example, Kent County Public Works Department has what they call Safe Chem. And Safe Chem allows for you to drop off all of your what would be considered like hazardous waste products. Like if you have a little bit of Rain-X left, if you have some
and things
bleach,
that you probably wouldn't even consider like dangerous.
Literally
things.
Yeah. They are,
but they are
dangerous. Do not dump them down your drain.
Please. Do not dump them in your backyard.
What you can do is bring them in to Safe Chem, and they will either properly dispose of them, or if they are proper, like if they're still able for use, they will safely give them to people for free. All you have to do is sign a waiver that says, I'm not going to put this in the trash. I will bring it back here if I don't use it all.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to properly dispose of really anything that you need to. They do accept other like larger items. I've seen propane tanks in there.
Okay.
Latex paint. I'm sorry. You can dispose of latex paint. You cannot take it, or they cannot take it.
Okay.
But yeah, home and garden products, automotive materials, workshop, painting supplies, much more. So they have...
I think like wood stains, industrial cleaners, like almost any just cleaner that you wouldn't want to dump down the drain, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and like we all look under our sink or like in a back room and you're like, wow, that has dust on it. I don't ever use it. Like, I don't know, something that you've had for years. It's not always guaranteed that it can be used after a certain point, but it is so much better for the environment than dumping it.
Yeah.
So really, that might be a step to just consider how you're going to dispose of your waste. And make sure that it's properly recycled either into somebody else's life or into the right bin.
Because I feel like it's very normal for us to think about recycling as in like paper and plastic and cardboard and things like that. But we do forget about like chemical stuff, right?
Yes.
So this is like a really important one to think about too.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's also one that's like very accessible because if you were like, hey, like I just need like a little bit of like, I don't know, this like spray sealant or something, just go check them out first and we might be able to get it for free.
Yeah, it's like a way of thrifting, if you ask me. And also it's just stopping things from going into the landfill. You know, Grand Rapids doesn't have a whole lot of time left with what we have in the landfill. We want to avoid putting stuff into incinerators. So put it into somebody else's hands.
There you go.
Into your neighbor. Check out Kent County Public Works. Their website is reimaginetrash.org. And you can find under Safe Homes, Safe Chem, how to dispose of your waste properly.
We love it, especially for us artsy folks that have all kinds of crazy chemicals.
Yes. Well, or if you just want to see what they have.
I want to see what they have.
Do it.
Go check it out.
I dare you.
All right.
Yeah. Is this done?
Let me let you go.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll talk to you guys later. No, that was a really great way to get back into our conversation.
We'll be back soon, and we'll be back on our usual bi-weekly schedule with another episode in 2 weeks.
Thank you for listening to Green Rapids.
Till next time.
Peace.